I recognize myself for 5 minutes for questioning. I think it's important to note, and as America observes, it's fascinating hearing that digital data is not secure. You have reports of, according to my research, about 27% of Fortune 500 companies have had major data breaches. These are the wealthiest companies, they're the most advanced security systems. Data breach statistics show a significant increase in both the number of breaches and the number of records exposed within those breaches. For example, in the United States, the number of data breaches increased from 447 in 2012 to over 3,200 in 2023. In 2023, 353 million individuals were impacted by data compromises. And globally, data breaches exposed over 818 million data sets in the first quarter of 2024. So it's intellectually unsound to discuss digital data as if it was secure. And therein lies the problem, because Ms. Wojcicki, 23andMe, congratulations on the success of the company. I'm a Republican. I support free enterprise. I'm glad you had a good run, but let's talk about the issue right now. Because 23andMe began with a DNA swab, and that swab was sent in to a laboratory, I presume, 23andMe, and that laboratory analyzed that physical data and created a digital file. Is that correct?
Yes, we would.
We're moving quickly. I'm just summarizing here for the American people. You send in a swab, it's physical DNA. That's received by a laboratory and transitioned to a digital file. At that point, America, no longer secure. And I need to only point to modern history and data breaches and digital theft. But let's move a little bit deeper into this consideration. In these laboratories in 23andMe, did you have Chinese nationals working, ma'am?
So 23andMe contracted with LabCorp?
Yeah. Did you have Chinese nationals working in laboratories that were processing the DNA physical data and transitioning that data to digital files?
So LabCorp is a public company. It's one of the largest lab testing.
Yes or no? Whatever.
I didn't control their hiring.
Would you believe me when I tell you the answer is yes? You had Chinese nationals. Listen to this, America. You sent in your DNA on a swab. No problem. That's cool to check your family history and your family tree. But, you know, I did it too. But the expectation of privacy of your digital data was gone the moment you put that thing in the mail. And now Congress has to determine whether or not we're going to allow the abject sale of that data. And let me just say that we're going to draft legislation, Mr. Savage. We will draft legislation. I don't know if we'll get it right because it's complex. I would estimate there'll probably be a dozen different iterations of legislation covering DNA digital data control over the next decade. But Congress must act in response to this newly emergent threat, because you're not just talking about 15 million people for 23andMe. According to my research, over the course of 30 years, 15 million people become 100 million descendants. It's the same basic DNA profile, therefore subject to the same threat of biological weaponization of that DNA profile, and that DNA profile exists in the digital realm where we already acknowledge it's not secure. So this body is going to create legislation, and that legislation will impact the sale of this data. So both of you have a stake. Quickly, Madam and Sir, advise this body. Will you be available for consultation to this committee as we work through what legislation will look like?
I would be honored to help and participate however I can to help make sure that genetic.
However you can. Thank you, ma'am. Good, sir.
And likewise, I'd be happy to help. in any
Professor
way I
Hu, we're going to need you. Will you be available?
Absolutely.
Thank you. My time has expired. The chair recognizes Mr. Gill for 5 minutes for questioning.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
stand corrected, Mr. Gill. I apologize. Ms. Crockett has arrived. Ms. Crockett is recognized for 5 minutes for questioning. I apologize, Mr. Gill.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.